Okay, so today we are, as I already revealed, we are going to be reading Development of Capitalism in Russia in 1899. Or did I make up the 1899 part?
I think it's 1896 through 1899 that he wrote it.
Okay, so but 1899 is not in the title. I just made it up, right?
Kinda. I mean, it's the way the Marxist puts it out too, is 1899 development of the whole thing is written between those 3 years, but they write it as the 1899 development of capitalism.
Okay. So this was when he was he was in 1895. He was arrested and taken to a jail, which we will see here that Janet's going to put up. That was his jail cell where he spent about a year. So back then they didn't have like Xerox copiers and stuff like that. So he had to if you wanted something from the library, you had to copy it down with good notes. And so he copied lots of stuff from the library. And then he was then sent to Siberia for the 3-year exile sentence. Nadezhda joined him later when they got married there.
Yes.
But he would get books, and then he wrote this really amazing thing. And the really cool thing about this is that capitalism, the way it develops from pre-capitalism, which is often feudalistic, whatever, non-industrial, is exactly the same everywhere because you're using the same machinery. It's not and so people in the US really need to learn this because I don't know, they just don't get it. And there's a lot of places in the world that go through different phases of capitalism, and then you end up seeing really dumb things like Chomsky did here.
It's going to happen. Figure out how the peasants are living, and so on and so forth. Try to assist them in things, and they collected tons of data. And Marx was just poring over the data, and he became convinced that there's real revolutionary potential in peasant society, the peasant communes, peasant cooperative tradition, and so on. The urban socialists, both the Bolsheviks and the Social Democrats, literally suppressed all that work.
Now, when you skip forward a bit to the era of, Lenin and stuff, Lenin's biggest criticism of Narodnik ideas was, first of all, that they opposed development. They wanted to go back to feudalism, which is stupid. That's totally anti-Marxist. There's no way Marx would have supported that. The biggest thing that the Narodniks were focused on in the early 1900s was trying to prove that capitalism wasn't developing in the countryside. That was what they were trying to do. They were they had all these figures, like Chomsky says, they had all this data, and they were trying to twist the data so that it would show that there's actually not capitalism in the countryside, and that they were trying to minimize the inequalities and all that, because they would say that, we allocate all this land so that everybody gets some land, even though it was allocated based on who has the biggest family and who has the most horses. So the kulaks would basically get most of the land, because the idea is, the idea was good, basically, that if you're a small family, you don't have any horses, well, you can't till that much soil, so you can't, you don't get that much land. Okay, makes sense, but then it's easy to see a problem with that, because the kulaks, they buy all the horses, so now they get all the allotment land for free, and then they can also rent land from other people and even buy land. So the kulaks would buy land from peasants who couldn't properly use their own land because they didn't have horses and they didn't have tools and whatnot, or they might have to work in some other place. So the kulaks would just buy some of their land. Eventually, those workers wouldn't make enough money because they didn't have so much land, they couldn't till it, whatnot. So they had to basically start working for the kulaks. So the kulaks would start hiring people, and some of Lenin's earliest work is, about these things, the new economic developments in peasant life, and what are the friends of the people and why they fight the social democrats, development of capitalism in Russia. Those books, they're about this very thing. And they were basically proving that, look, the peasantry is being divided into two sections. There's the exploiter peasants, and then there's the semi-proletarian peasants. The semi-proletarians who own very little land or don't own any land and have to look for employment elsewhere. And then there's the exploiter peasants, the kulaks, who are becoming more and more capitalistic and all that.
So what was going on around this time is that there was not the Social Democratic Party yet, and there are these really there are these like weird people called Narodniks, which means people, the people's people. Narod means people. Narodnik is like and they were kind of weird, and they had this weird theory that you can have a revolution by they wanted to have, they just had really bad ideas. And these are bad ideas that keep recycling themselves. So a lot of liberals still have this bad idea. Like everyone, the Republican Party does this, like where they're like, everyone should be a small business owner. And then they fetishize this. That was more or less what the Narodniks were kind of wanting people to be, everyone to be their own small business owner.
Were they about voting? I know you didn't have voting back then. No, they then assassinated Tsar. Lenin's brother was a Narodnik. Then they assassinated Tsar Alexander the Second, who was the grandfather of Tsar Nikolai. Yes.
And then they had a massive crackdown of the Narodniks. Lenin's brother was executed. And it was during this time where Lenin kind of understood how liberals suck, because his mom had to go visit his brother in jail in Moscow. And they were, I think, in Kazan or Samara. And they didn't have trains in Samara. So she had to go on horseback all by herself. But none of their liberal neighbors were willing to take escort her. And it was kind of dangerous for a woman to be all alone in the middle of nowhere on horseback in the middle of the night.
So I was dangerous.
Yeah. And so Lenin saw that when he was little, and he kind of understood that liberals really suck. And so and so Lenin was also really hurt. So according to either his sister's memoirs or his brother's, I can't remember which one, but he was like, I want to be just like, his brother was named Sasha. So Lenin would always say, I want to be just like Takak Sasha, as in just like Sasha. And then, he would copy him like little brothers did. Apparently, when he was waiting, so Lenin would go to school, but he was younger, and so they would his parents wouldn't pick him up or whatever. He had to wait, so then he'd go to Sasha's classroom, and wait there. Had to wait in there until Sasha was done, and then I guess that's when the parents picked him up. And I guess if you had to do it on horseback, you wouldn't want to, you know what I mean? So apparently, but Lenin was so smart that he was actually doing the work in Sasha's classroom, even though he was just sitting there while waiting, and then he was all ahead with the all the things they taught. So yeah.
Yep. That's what little siblings do.
Yeah. He was just yeah.
So no, I get that. So this is like what the Tsar was in the 1860s, right?
The Tsar Alexander was executed in after Lenin was born, so like 1881 when he was 11 or so.
Oh, okay, all right. So the early 1880s.
Yeah.
What were the land reforms? What were the in the 1860s? What was that?
That was kind of like the Emancipation Proclamation.
Okay.
In that, you know how in the Emancipation Proclamation, Abraham Lincoln frees the slaves in the Confederacy?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like saying, hey, I think it's like the US president saying, I think everyone in Canada deserves a Honda. Right?
Okay.
So he technically freed the slaves in 1861.
Yeah.
But they had to work for their masters for the next 7 years, just like they did before they were freed. And then if they worked hard enough, they would have affordable access to land one day.
So nice. So nice of them.
Yeah. So then what you realize is that what happened is that let me just read this part. So even after the serfdom had been abolished, the landlords continued to oppress the peasants. In the process of emancipation, they robbed peasants by enclosing and cutting off portions of the land used by the peasants. That's called, and these portions were called atrieski. And the peasants were compelled to pay about a few billion rubles to the landlord as a redemption price for their emancipation. So you kind of had to buy yourself your freedom, which is
and as you're talking about peasants there, those are like the lower class. The lower peasants and the middle and lower not.
Okay. I wish. Okay. Atrabotsky, which means it's like work off, as in you work off your debt. Or barshina, which just means barshina. I forgot what it means. It means just like free labor, but I forgot how the word.
Okay.
So they really didn't have that freedom, and although serfdom had been abolished, the peasants the peasants were flogged for the slightest offense and the non-payment of taxes. Workers were manhandled by the police and the Cossacks, and they were not free. I wish it was the presidents. That would have been better.
Yes. All right. So you want to start with the reading, or?
Yeah, I will start with the preface to the first edition because both of them are actually written by Lenin himself. So I only do prefaces. Only when it's written by Lenin. If it's written by somebody, I don't do them. But in the work presented here, the author has set himself the aim of examining the question of how a home market is being formed for Russian capitalism. As we know, the principal exponents of the Narodnik views, chiefs among them being Messrs. Vivi and Enon. Pseudonym Enon is a pseudonym of Nikolai Danielson, and V.P. Vorontsov. Now, this part didn't do. Lenin didn't dox them. We doxed them afterwards. It will be what?
Those are the what are they? The leaders of the Narodniks at the time.
Yeah, and those are the people he trolls.
Okay.
It will be our task to criticize these views. We have not considered it possible to limit ourselves in this criticism. Yes, we. I like this. I love how Lenin uses the socialist we, as though it were more than one person doing it. limit ourselves in this criticism to examining the mistakes and misconceptions in our opponent's view. In answering the questions raised, it seems to us that it was not enough to adduce facts showing the formation and growth of a home market, for the objection might be raised that such facts have been selected arbitrarily and the facts showing the contrary had been omitted. It seems to us that it was necessary to examine the whole process of the development of capitalism in Russia to endeavor to depict it in its entirety. It goes without saying that such an extensive tasks would be beyond the powers of a single person were a number of limitations not introduced. Firstly, as the title itself shows, we treat the problem of development of capitalism in Russia exclusively from a standpoint of the home market, leaving aside the problem of the foreign market and data on foreign trade, which he does finish in his book, Imperialism, the Highest Stage of Capitalism. So it's just like he puts a little 18-year pause. Okay. Secondly, we limit ourselves purely to the post-reform period, so post-1861. Thirdly, we mainly deal and almost exclusively with data concerning the interior, purely the Russian gubernias, as in they're not dealing with the cities, like not Moscow, not Petrograd, not whatever, Kiev. Fourthly, we limit ourselves exclusively to the economic aspect of the process, even with all the limitations indicated in the topic, that it remains is an extremely broad one. The author does not close his eyes to the difficulty, even the danger of dealing with such a broad topic. But it seemed to him that to elucidate the problem of the home market for Russian capitalism, it was absolutely necessary to show the connection between and the interdependence of various aspects of the process taking place in all spheres of the social economy. Therefore, we limit ourselves to an examination of the main features of the process, leaving a more specific study of it to further investigations. The plan of work is as follows. Chapter 1, we shall examine as briefly as possible the basic theoretical propositions of abstract political economy on the subject of the home market for capitalism. That means, like, how do you get the country ready for capitalism? This will serve as a sort of introduction to the rest of the work, the factual part of it, and will relieve us of the need to make repeated references to theory in our further exposition. Okay. The 3 following chapters, we shall endeavor to describe the capitalist evolution in post-reform Russia. Namely, in chapter 2, we will examine Zemstvo, as in there were, local self-governments or whatever. That literally means land governments.
Yeah.
Zemlya means earth. On the differentiation of the peasantry, as in how the peasantry, split into 2 big group, like a small group of super wealthy people and the really big group of nobodies. Mm-hmm. And it's really funny because James Madison literally says this too, and he knows this when he's saying this. So he literally says the landed interest at present is prevalent, but in the process of time, we approximate the states and kingdoms of Europe. When the number of landholders shall be comparatively small, through the various means of trade and manufactures, it will not be the landed interest be overbalanced in future elections unless we widely provided against debt. So landholders are basically, okay, this is a better quote. Property had made distinctions in Europe before a nobility was created, and the inequality of property will produce the same distinctions here, like a nobility.
Yeah.
So that's the same thing in Russia, except it's opposite.
Yeah. Okay.
So the nobility will get the property, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's always going to shake out that there's going to be people that are higher on the hierarchy.
But Madison also explains how there'll be fewer property owners owning a lot more, right?
Yes, yeah. So that, yeah, because
That's how capitalism works.
yeah.
Like fewer people own more and more.
They had to push them into the industrial, the poor people, and then so they pushed all the poor people into doing the industrial, so they had to move to the cities, and then that left more land because they only had a few decedents, and then like that was taken up, and then even like the middle peasantry had to like kind of start going towards the cities too, and so then you ended up with the ones that had the big land just having more and more land.
Yeah. And now we see that Monsanto owns everything. So it just goes further as time goes on.
Yeah.
So now, ultimately, it'll be even fewer owning more and more. And so that's what he's talking about. Chapter 3 is the transitional state of the landlord economy. That we would just... Chapter 4 is the formation of the commercial and capitalist agriculture. Capitalist agriculture is literally what we have now. When you have like industrialized, large scale, basically you have the latifundas, and that's
more things get almost like monopolized by a fewer
people,
and then
exactly.
And then you just, and that's who makes the money off it. That's who, like, they drive the prices, they do all that.
Yes. And I want to read this. I don't want to read the second preface, but he makes a second preface later when he's like making fun of the Stolopins and the cadets and everything. So that's kind of funny that he takes some time to like add them. But we'll eventually read the second preface. We're just reading the preface to the first edition.
Yes. And then this is actually when he was okay with Kautsky now.
Yes. This is when he was he was not hating Kautsky totally. He was like, he never was like he never was like a Kautsky fan, but he's not calling him a goat that chews on cud.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because he was in the middle of Siberia in Chushenskaya, and it was basically whatever books he was able to get his relatives to mail him.
Yeah.
And that's why when Lenin was like creating the shadow government, like when they were like building the party, the first thing the party kind of did was build a shadow postal system behind the Tsarist system.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he kind of realized how much the Tsarist postal system really sucks.
Yeah. And plus they had to be able to get the literature around, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So.
And this part is very important. Like we should have a vocabulary words. I will write them down so that we can put them up in many places, because liberals, this is how, like Lenin defines things very carefully, and liberals don't read it properly. And they're like, oh, are you okay with Lenin taking your property? And I'm like, if I had any property, would I have time to read this much Lenin? So please donate, super chat, go to historically.substack.com/subscribe, go to historically.net, and then hit subscribe somewhere. And okay.
All right.
Okay, so with that, I will remember, I'm writing down vocabulary words.
Yes. Okay.
The market is a category of the commodity economy, which in the course of its development is transformed into capitalist economy, and only under the latter gains complete sway and universal prevalence. Therefore, in order to examine basic theoretical propositions concerning the home market, we must proceed from a simple commodity economy and trace its gradual transformation into a capitalist economy. Okay. So what is the first thing he defines is what is a commodity economy? The basis of the commodity economy is the social division of labor. So, for example, before the commodity economy, the guy who owned the sheep would also have his wife do the spinning wheel. And then his daughter would do the, I don't know, whatever they need to make knitting.
Well, they'd make the yarn from the wool, and then they knit it. Then the daughter would knit it, and then
they'd sell it in the market.
Yeah. So it was all like done by just,
the family unit.
Yeah.
But then with the commodity economy, what happens is that you have like thousands, and no, that's the manufacturing economy, but you have people doing separate things. Like the guy who has the sheep will sell his raw wool to the guy who
spins it. Yeah.
And then they sell their spun yarn.
So the ones that make the clothing and then or the blankets or whatever.
So that's the social division of labor. Okay. Manufacturing industry separates the raw materials industries. No, manufacturing industry separates from the raw materials industry. And each of these subdivides into smaller varieties and sub-varieties which produce specific products as commodities and exchange them for the products of all the others.
This is reminding me of a real life example today, in the fact that like Kellogg's is now like when I worked in the food industry, like grocery food, and I was in sales and marketing for basically we have our clients and we'd sell to the grocery stores. You know what I mean? Like, so we did the sales instead of the client having to do them. But, so we were like third party, but it was kind of confusing too when you first get into it. There's manufacturers and distributors, and you're dealing with a whole bunch of different things. And then what Kellogg is doing now is a lot of these bigger brands merged everything together. So they were all owned by Kellogg, but they merged it all together. So they made it like, I know I worked on Unilever. There was a big push in the early 2000s to merge it all together and give it like one brand name of Unilever. So that all the different brands they had at the time, they had Skippy, they sold that off, but they had like Wishbone, they had Knorr products, they had like a whole bunch. And then they had all the ice creams, they had all the margarines. So then everything, like they wanted their name to be known. But now what's happening with the strikers and stuff like that is Kellogg's is now disbanding that. Like they're going to set up different companies.
Yeah, but we'll get to this in imperialism. So you'll have downstream and upstream, like wool is downstream. Yeah. Sorry, raw wool. Sweaters are upstream. Yeah. And what will happen is that like the same company will own all of this eventually. Yeah. And we'll get to this in imperialism, the highest stage of capitalism. And then you'll have 5 people controlling the whole world. So, but when they are separating it right now, it's just still, it's like,
it's still them.
No, they already have, like they already have control of this whole branch, and they're just like rearranging the get to look differently, and
so it looks like they don't own everything.
Yeah, so that they can get better.
So
control.
that if someone is boycotting, say because strikers are on strike, and you boycott all the Kellogg's brands, now they think they make it harder because you can't find just the Kellogg's brands. You're only finding like the the grocery aisle brands, and then you'll find like not that they do margarine, but like margarine would be a different company. So then you wouldn't boycott the margarine, so that they're not getting everything boycotted is what they're trying to do. So
but that's here, like this is more like
this is the building
block of that's like 100 years later. Sorry. Okay, so we're talking about how the world will get like this with upstream, downstream instead of like flat.
Yeah.
Okay. The development of commodity economy leads to an increased number of separate and independent branches of industry. So at first, like you have if you ever like, when you see this, like a car or an Apple, like they will import the chip from somewhere, like they're literally not making anything actually, but like literally you have like one company making the chips and one company making the screws, and it'll all come together. And so it literally means separate. Yeah. And this tendency of the tendency of this development is to transform into a special branch of industry, not only the making of each separate product, but even each separate part of a product, and not only the making of a product, but even separate operations of preparing the product for consumption. Under the natural economy, society consists of mass homogeneous economic units, like we said, families. In each such unit engaged in all forms of economic activity, like we explained, from the acquisition of raw materials to the final preparation for consumption. Under the commodity economy, heterogeneous economic units come into being, like cities and countries. The number of separate branches of economy increases, and the number of economic units performing one and the same economic function diminishes, as in you get monopolies.
I want to bring up, because last week, that person that had the question about feudalism had, communal living. Yes.
Yes.
That's what it's saying, is that like the community could be like this homogenous economic unit. Like a community could do one thing together, and so then that could have been it too.
Hold on. You should read our article, The Tragedy of Private Property. But basically, this is like the feudal economy. You see, we're going to share, it doesn't matter really, literally. Okay, so what you never had, what private little squares, that was never, what you had was a big pool, like there was 3 crops, and all the peasants had to work the land together, and because like all the serfs, and because they would not have like 2 cows. And the most efficient way, just like tractors, is to have long stretches of land that you can just have 2 cows or horses or buffaloes just kind of pull back and forth. So yes, read our article, The Tragedy of Private Property, to understand your understanding of stupid private property comes after World War II.
So like that, like in this, he's explaining how it was communal back then. So like in feudalism, there
even
was
in the US,
more of a community.
Like the slaves did, even in the US, like they had slave owners, and there was a common area where the slaves lived. And so there were never little square, like no one had their own private square of property until after World War II, when they needed to do that because they started to make the mass produced like identical matchbox houses. Yeah.
The tiny, what is it? The tiny, I don't know.
The matchbox houses.
The tiny little houses and the tiny, whatever that song is.
The tiny little houses.
There's some song that they used in one of those shows on HBO or something.
Oh, that was a marijuana.
Yeah. That was
That was actually based on a British comedy but that lady was like an old lady whose husband dies in debt. And then she's forced to sell marijuana in order to live. But that was a cute old lady. And this lady's like much younger, so it's less cuter. Right?
Yeah, it's less cuter. It's kind of funny.
Yeah. I think I got the song. Hold on. But we're not playing this. We can put the link below, but we're not playing this because we don't want the copyright.
We don't want to be taken down. We don't want to get slapped.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
That's exactly why you have the property, because
little
of
boxes.
The matchbox houses.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think you were at the Marx quote, or the sentence right before. It is this progressive growth in the social division of labor.
Under the commodity economy, okay. It is this progressive growth in the social division of labor that is the chief factor in process of creating a home market for capitalism, where the basis of commodity production and its absolute form, capitalist production, says Marx, products are commodities or use values which have an exchange value that is to be realized, to be converted into money, insofar as other commodities form an equivalent for them. That is, other products confront them as commodities and values. It's really funny because to show this, like Marx makes use of a really funny analogy of like Bibles and labor. Like the joke is that like you put your labor and then you buy a Bible and then the church gets rich. It's a really funny analogy that Marx makes. But yeah, you can have like I can get like 4 cups of coffee or 4 bananas. So theoretically, if you kind of divide, if you use the transitive property in arithmetic, you can explain how many coffees you need per banana, right?
I always think of it like also like when you go to work and they give you, like, say you work in retail and they give you a discount, like that discount is like nothing, like to what you get. Like you get 10% off something. Like the company's already making money and that now you're going to buy it from them and you're getting the 10% off, but they're actually just making money off you still. You know what I'm saying?
You're a little, I don't know. I think that this is way too complicated. I do have a chart where it's like bananas to coffees. Okay, this is I found the Marx quote. Now let us accompany the owner of some commodity, Lenin. Okay, so his 20 yards of linen has a definite price, £2. He exchanges it for £2, and then, like a man of good old stamp he is, he parts with the £2 for a family Bible of the same price. The linen, which in his eyes is a mere commodity, a depository of value, he alienates in exchange for gold, which is the linen's valiant form. And this form he gains again, parts it with another commodity, the Bible, which is destined to enter his house as an object of utility and edification to its inmates. So this is like a troll example that Marx uses. I love how Marx is like such a troll. I mean, Lenin is too, but no, Lenin's a bigger troll, actually.
Lenin's a bigger troll. Marx had
Engels is an equivalent troll to Marx, I think.
Yeah,
Lenin.
To Lenin, but Marx had a mean streak.
Yeah, Marx had a mean streak, but Engels was the bigger troll. Like,
yeah, Engels was a troll, but Marx had a mean streak.
Yeah.
I don't think Marx didn't tolerate bullshit, I guess. I don't know. He just didn't tolerate shit.
Yeah, he did not. Like, he was very mean. You're right. But Engels was the one who had
just the sarcasm, the little quips,
Okay, so look, I forgot where we were.
I think we finished with Marx, the Marx quote, and then I think you're just
okay.
Pretty much.
The market for these commodities develops through the social division of labor. The division of productive labor transforms their respective products into commodities. Commodities are things you sell, which into equivalents of each other, making them mutually serve as markets. So as it goes without saying that the above mentioned separation of manufacturing from the raw materials industry, of manufacture from agriculture, transforms agriculture itself into an industry and into a commodity producing branch of the economy. Yep. Process of specialization that separates from each other the diverse varieties of manufacture of products, creating an ever-growing number of branches of industry, also manifests itself in agriculture, creating specialized agricultural districts and systems of farming, and giving rise not only between the products of agricultural industries, but also between various products of agriculture, like fertilizer and seeds. This specialization of commercial and capitalist agriculture manifests itself in all capitalist countries in the international division of labor. This is true of post-reform Russia as well, and as we shall show in detail below. And it's also true for every country.
So post-reform Russia, he's talking about like 1860 on, or?
Yeah, everything after 1861.
Okay.
Thus, the social division of labor is the basis for the entire process of the development of commodity economy and of capitalism. It is quite natural, therefore, that our Narodnik theoreticians who declare this process to be the result of artificial measures, the result of a deviation from the path, and so on and so forth, have tried to gloss over the fact that the social division of labor in Russia, or to belittle its significance, Mr. VVV, in his article, Division of Agricultural Labor and Industrial Labor, Vestnik Evropu, the European Messenger. This is already like Lenin's already like if you had named your journal the European Messenger, Lenin's already going to make fun of you. He actually, it's funny because later when he's who is the other Menshevik, he like when he's like insulting them, he's like they're European in their thinking. And there's like many times where he's like making fun of European civilization, where he like, so the British, he actually says the British are not sending their best to India. I'll show you. No, I swear he says that. Basically here he's like, do not forget the British liberals put their best people at the head of the Indian administration. And he's talking about pedophiles there. And what we realize is that the last viceroy to India was also a pedophile who was killed by the IRA.
Good for the IRA.
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder if Pizzagate is real. Well, not Pizzagate itself, but the fact that there are a lot of like predatory people will be predatory once they gain power, and they have a reason, and they are the most likely to seek power because they want to be predatory. It's like right?
Yeah, it's a mindset. You want control, so you seek power just so you can have control over people.
And so it like capitalism like incentivizes the Epstein rise.
Yeah, that's all you have to do is look at Epstein, and we know who was friends with them. You know what I mean?
Well, and who's not? Like Bernie's like I swear the only politician who has not a picture with Epstein.
It's nuts. They all
are.
Even after
he becomes convicted, like in like 2009 or something,
they're still taking pictures with them and hanging out with them. Wait.
So what happened? Never mind. I don't want to know. Well, that's a big thing to get into. Okay. Let's not. Okay.
All right. You're at
denied the dominance of Russia of the principle of social division of labor, and declared that in this country, the social division of labor has not sprung from the depths of people's life, but has attempted to thrust itself into it from the outside. But that's in every country. Like no one's like, yay, I'm going to work for 18 hours in a factory. It's always comes from outside, but that's not. But Mr. Enon, in his sketches is the name of his year, argues as follows about the increase in the quantity of grain offered for the sale. This phenomenon might imply that the grain produced is more evenly distributed over the country, that the Archangel, that's like an area in near Finland, or it might be in Finland now. I can't remember. Fishermen now consume Samara grain, and the Samara farmer supplements his dinner with Archangel fish. Actually, he does not, but actually, however, nothing of this kind is happening. Sketches on our post-reform social economy. without any data and contrary to the generally known facts, and the categorical assertion is bluntly made here that no social division of labor in Russia. The Narodnik theory of artificial character of capitalism in Russia could only have been evolved by rejecting or proclaiming as artificial the very foundation of all commodity economy, and namely the social division of labor.
Yeah. And then this is precisely why they're afraid to let Russia have certain parts of Russia back, Ukraine back, or like have them not be part of Ukraine because they're going to lose those commodities.
Yes.
There.
Yeah. And it's really funny because what Russia, okay, well, I'm going to use a medieval term. Please forgive me because otherwise you're not going to understand that. Okay, what we know now as the Russian Federation is Veliki Russia, which is the Great Russia. But then there's and Ukraine is made up of Mala and Novorossiya, which is, okay. So right now, unfortunately for them, Veliki Russia now has grows up. Like before, they couldn't grow all this food in certain areas in Siberia, and now they can. So Veliki Russia does not need Ukraine anymore. But the idea of separating the Ukrainian area from is to basically that was General Plan Ost, which is literally to starve out the Russian people.
Yeah, but Russia itself is probably, it could maintain itself.
Now it does.
Point. Yeah.
And now it does more than maintain. It exports wheat to India and China and everywhere else. Not just wheat, but the things that grow on the land, farm stuff, to Africa, everywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's why it's creating a famine, because they're blockading. They're trying to. Russia's literally not picking conflicts in that they're not going to blow up a U.S. ship if it's I don't know what's going on there.
Carrying food to a country that needs it or something like that.
No, U.S. ships never carry food to countries that need it.
I know that.
Okay, no. The U.S. ship is there to blockade the Russian ship that's carrying it to countries.
Yeah.
So, but then they're trying to blame Russia for creating a famine in Africa when it's 100% the fault of decolonizers.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right, so part two.
But that's exactly why they like to keep the Ukraine, the West area, which is the Galicia or the Malorussia or whatever you want to call it. That's huge. People don't understand how big it is. It's it's a huge area which grows a lot of wheat.
Hence the yellow.
Yes.
All right.
Oh, that's why the Ukraine flag is yellow and blue.
Yeah, it's the sky and the wheat.
No, I thought it was the sea and the wheat.
Oh, maybe it's the sea. I thought it was the sky to the wheat.
I don't know.
I don't know either. Maybe it's the sea. It could be the sea.
We'll check on this later. And if you're Ukrainian and you are a Stalinist, reach out to us. But if you're Ukrainian and not a Stalinist, please don't.
Stay away. No, I'm looking.
What?
I said stay away.
Yeah, really stay away. Yeah. Because there's only one other. We know what the opposite of Stalinist is, so we don't want you.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll Google it later. I don't know. Concept in view of the growth of the industrial population at the expense of the agricultural. So actually, the guy, Victor Medvedchuk, mentions this as the three parts of capitalism, which is what is it? Urbanization, de-intellectualization, and what else? I forgot. Remember? In Ukraine Under Fire?
Yeah.
He says urbanization, de-intellectualization, and something else.
Isn't it the taking away the commodities or something?
Deindustrialization.
Okay.
Oh, that's okay. But there's definitely a de-intellectualization. But
yes.
But so So what happens is that factories need more and more people to make more and more stuff. So they kind of have to get like squish them all together. And so you get a big industrial centers. Like that's why you have some cities like Bombay and Mexico City with like 25 million people.
Yeah. Because they all had to move there to get work.
Yeah. I don't think like no city in the US is like, I never thought about it, but you're right.
I don't know. New York is pretty.
It does not have 25. It's not Bombay.
No, it doesn't have that much, but it's not, that's probably New York City is probably the closest we got to. I mean, over like back then, if you're talking 100 years ago, that was definitely the closest we had to the most industrial place.
Yeah, New York City used to be with all the clothing factories used to be.
Yep.
And then there was like the clothing, there was a factory fire and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but we had a couple of we had like Boston, but up north, 2 of us. So it kind of like ran like we had a lot of manufacturers. Like that's why we had the big in Lynn, the big strike with the Bread and Roses came up. The Bread and Roses strike.
Okay. In the shirt maker strike in New York. Okay. In the view of the fact of in the epoch preceding the commodity economy, manufacturing is combined with raw material industry, and the latter is headed by agriculture. This is the feudal economy. The development of the commodity economy takes shape of the separation of agriculture from one branch of industry after another. The population of a country in which the commodity economy is poorly developed or not developed at all is almost exclusively agricultural. Like you can see it, a lot of these countries right now are like imperialized. Like you'll see, we can put up statistics of urban population. There's like 1 billion. I'll get you a map of like Google. I'll Google you and you'll see what he means. However, this must not be understood as meaning that the population is engaged solely in agriculture. It means that the population is engaged in agriculture, also process the products of agriculture, and that the exchange of and division of labor are almost non-existent. Consequently, the development of commodity economy, eo ipso, which is a fancy word, if you don't know it, it means the divorcement of an ever-growing part of the population from agriculture. Alienation. So they want to control. Henry Kissinger had this creepy thing: when you control the food, you control the people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's why alienation from agriculture and the growth of the industrial population at the expense of the agricultural population. It is in the natural nature of capitalist production to continually reduce the agricultural population as compared with the non-agricultural, because in industry, in the strict sense, the increase of constant capital at the expense of variable capital goes hand in hand with an absolute increase in variable capital, despite its relative decrease. On the other hand, in agriculture, the variable capital required for exploitation of a certain plot of land decreases absolutely, and thus only increase to an extent that new land is taken into cultivation. But then this requires as a prerequisite a greater growth of the non-agricultural population.
Going back and talking about how they control the food, one of the things that happened during COVID, people started doing gardens, and they were like kind of making it hard for people to get seeds and stuff. But one of the other things that came out a big time is that you can't purchase seeds to grow your own food with food stamps, which makes no sense. Like, wouldn't it make more sense to make someone able to do, to do their own thing? Like, wouldn't you want them to buy the seeds? But they don't want them to. They want them to be.
Well, let's compare this with Vietnam, where everyone has a right to have a plot of land that they can make their own food in.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's the opposite.
They don't want us growing our food. They don't want it.
In Venezuela too, like if you have like 5 people, you have a right to have a plot of land where you can grow your own food.
Mm-hmm.
No questions asked. They'll give you the seeds too, and the tools of production. China too. Yep. They did that back in the day. Thus, one cannot conceive of capitalism without an increase in the commercial and industrial population at the expense of the agricultural population. Everybody knows that this phenomenon is revealed in the most clear-cut fashion in all capitalist countries. It need hardly be proved that the significance of this circumstance as regards the problem of the home market is enormous, for it is bound up inseparably both within the evolution of industry and the evolution of agriculture. The formation of industrial centers, the numerical growth, and the attraction of the population by them cannot but exert a most profound influence on the whole rural system, and cannot give rise to the growth of commercial and capitalist agriculture. All the more noteworthy is the fact that the exponents of Narodnik economics completely ignore this law, both in their purely theoretical arguments and their arguments about capitalism in Russia. We shall deal with this specific manifestation of this law in Russia later on in chapter 8. The theories of Messrs. V and N regarding the home market for capitalism overlook a mere trifle, the diversion of the population from agriculture to industry and the influence exerted by this fact on agriculture. Okay. This is so funny. We have pointed to the identical attitude of West European romanticists and Russian neurotics to the problem of growth of industrial population in our article, The Characterization of Economic Romanticism, Sismondi and Our Native Sismondists. I love how he uses the socialist we on everything. He once he forgot Stalin's name. And so he sent a letter to this, like a few friends, like to somebody, and he's like, can you please tell us what Kobe Joseph, and then he gets the first letter, like, his name is, we forgot. That was really funny. Yeah. I don't know. No one ever got to see that letter. That when Lenin forgets his name.
Stalin? I don't know. When don't think he knows of when it was released.
Lenin's letters were released sometime in the 1930s. So Stalin
I'm sure Lenin told him. I forgot your name, dude. I forgot it. Sorry.
Yeah, because when he sent the letter, he's like, "It's very important to keep this a secret." I forgot his name.
You're writing it down, Lenin. It's not going to be kept a secret.
Yeah.
We learned that from Twitter.
Yeah, we learned this from Twitter. Somebody was like, Lenin forgot Stalin's name. And so I wonder what, ruin of small producers. This part's very important because people in the West kind of think this happens automatically. Like, no. You get the working proletariat by ruining people, like making them worse off, impoverishing them. The Great Depression, like it is intentional, deliberate, and premeditated.
Kind of like what they're doing to the middle class right now. Because they built up a middle class and now they're destroying a middle class. So.
Yep. And then, poverty is.
And they're putting out emails and everything to recruit people to go to the army. No, army.
Oh, okay.
They're doing a big push for that now, too.
Oh, yeah, because the Department of Defense has abortion clinics.
Yeah.
They wrote that. I'm like, okay. I don't know. Yeah, you're right. It is the army. Oh, because they're preparing for a new hot war?
They have to be. If they've been doing a big push this year, so
It is a hot war.
Yeah.
Okay. So far, we have dealt with simple commodity production. Now we shall pass to capitalist production. That is, we presume instead of simple commodity producers, we have one hand the owner of the means of production, the bourgeoisie, and on the other hand, the wage worker or the seller of labor power. The conversion of the small producer into a wage worker presumes that he has lost the means of production, land, tools, workshop, and that he is impoverished and ruined. This view is advanced that this ruin diminishes the purchasing power of the population. Yes, and diminishes the home market for capitalism. No, you idiot. No. Mr. N on and held by Mr. Vivi in a lot of places. We do not deal here with the factual data relating to the process in Russia. They will be examined in later chapters. At this moment, the question posed is purely theoretical. It relates to commodity production in general, where it is transformed into a capitalist production. The writers also pose this question theoretically. From the mere fact that the ruin of small producers, they deduce a shrinkage of the home market. This view is absolutely incorrect. Its persistent survival in our economic literature can only be explained by romantic prejudices of Narodnism or Paul Krugism, literally. No, he changed. I forgot. Did he write? Like, I think he changed his mind. Like, he wrote something really dumb, like about NAFTA, like it would make sense for NAFTA to ruin the middle class, or something like that. Like, and then he apologized. Yeah, but that's the same thing. Paul Krugism. Yes. It has not changed. It is forgotten that freeing the one section of producers from the means of production necessarily presumes the passage of the latter into the other hands. Their conversion into capital presumes consequently that the new owners of these means of production produce as commodities the products formerly consumed by the producer himself, expand the home market, that in expanding the production, the new owners of the means of production present a demand to the market for new implements, raw materials, transport, and articles for consumption. Enrichment of these new owners naturally presumes an increase in their consumption. It is forgotten that it is by no means the well-being of the producers that is important for the market, but his possession of money. The decline in the well-being of the patriarchal peasant who formerly conducted mainly natural economy is quite compatible with the increase in amount of money in his possession. For such a peasant is ruined, the more he is compelled to resort to the sale of his labor power and the greater share of his albeit scantier means of subsistence that he must acquire in the market. With the setting free from the land, a part of the agricultural problem, therefore, their former means of nourishment were also set free. They were now transformed into material elements of variable capital, and you can hold them hostage for that. And he cites Karl Marx. The expropriation and eviction of a part of the agricultural population not only set free for industrial capital the laborers, their means of sustenance, the material for labor, it also created the home market. Because they need to buy, they can't afford to buy the fancy artisan goods. They have to buy the mass-produced cheap goods.
Yeah. And Stalin touched on some of this in the way that they had to get rid of, they had to ruin certain things. Like they ruined the artisans. They, you know what I mean? Like they ruined all the farms, everyone having their own land. They ruined the artisans. So Stalin had gotten into that in what we were reading last week with the
he did.
The dialectical materialism and historical.
And Lenin gets into this, and yes. Yeah. In America too, they literally ruined the small farmers in the Great Depression.
Yeah.
Because if you remember reading Grapes of Wrath, they then go work. They were used to own their own farm, and then they get foreclosed upon, and then they go and work as laborers, right? In the grape field.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. When I was younger, I didn't appreciate the Grapes of Wrath as much as I appreciate it now.
Yeah, it definitely. I remember that was one of the things I read I had to read it in high school, and then I was like, I don't know.
It's big.
Yeah, I don't think I had the mindset to understand it at that point. You know what I mean? I think
you get into the way Steinbeck puts it is so well, and so this guy. He also a little bit touches on the prison industrial complex a little bit because there's this guy named Tommy. And he's just sent to prison for a bar fight for 4 years or something ridiculous.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
And then when he comes back from prison, this happens. And then you realize that they're using his labor in prison. Yeah. And so.
Yep. Right. Where are we at?
I forgot.
From
the standpoint of abstract theory, the ruin of small producers in a society of developing commodity economy and capitalism means the very opposite to what Mr. N, An, and Vivi want to deduce from them. It means the creation and not the shrinkage of the home market. Because, are you going to buy crappy margarine? Oh, Lenin hates margarine, by the way. You'll realize this. Are you going to buy crappy margarine if you had money to
buy real butter?
Yeah. No. So you're going to buy the color, like, that's why you have the company store.
Yeah. Well, there's also the whole thing of like, I've always talked about this. Like, I remember when I was going to work at UPS and I needed to go get work boots for the first time because I was working a job that I needed work boots at this point, which I needed them later on for other jobs I did. But I of course didn't have a lot of money. So I purchased, like, at the time they were like $20, $30 work boots. And of course, like by the end of the summer, I had to buy another pair of work boots. Where if I paid $80 for the work boots, they would have lasted me 5-10 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so it's kind of this.
Yeah. Like if you look at the old cobbler made stuff, like you can still wear them. Like,
yeah.
But, and also that's the thing is that capitalism creates all this pollution because you're like, everything's like, you don't reuse stuff.
Well, like clothing, it's like we have throwaway clothing now. Like,
but then what they do is they try to sell it to like Africa, and then what it does is that basically there's like a big landfill, and like people in America think they're donating it to African kids or something stupid like that, but it's actually going to this like big landfill. And I remember this time when Duterte is like, we're not accepting Canadian garbage anymore. And he literally means Canadian garbage as in, let me see.
Exactly. It's just people getting rid of shit. It's like.
They literally, he meant Canadian garbage. Let me find it. Yeah, see, Philippines does not want Canadian garbage. Oh, they sent the garbage back. Okay. Good. And it is literally garbage in the most literal sense.
Yeah, they're just they're pawning it off on,
and they do this all over the third world where they, and Larry Summers even had a toxic waste memo where it's creepy. Have you ever read that?
No, I don't think I have.
Oh my God. I don't know how we got, what was he under Clinton?
Secretary of Treasury.
I really don't. He should not have gotten confirmed after when he was working at the World Bank. He thinks that we should dump toxic waste to Mexico because the demand for a clean aesthetic and health reason is likely to have high income elasticity, as in low income people getting whatever. It's creepy, but ultimately he explained the impeccable logic of dumping or loading toxic waste to the lowest wage country.
Yeah.
Yes, he says, I think the economic logic behind dumping a load of toxic waste in the lowest wage country is impeccable. That's literally what he said.
Impeccable.
Yeah. And how did he get confirmed? We know not. Actually, we know. Citibank approved, right?
They like that.
They like that kind of.
They like that we dump into other countries. Yeah.
Narodnik theory of the impossibility of realizing surplus value. The next question in the theory of the home market is the following. We know the value of a product in a capitalist production resolves into 3 parts. The first part replaces the constant capital, or the value that existed previously in the shape of raw and auxiliary materials, blah, 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 machines, instruments. And that part is merely reproduced in a certain part of the finished product, as in, like if you're making banana nut bread, you are reproducing that you're using bananas to make banana nut bread, right?
Yeah, and you're using flour, which actually had a whole bunch of processes before.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know why. My mind is thinking.
You're on bananas today. You better eat a banana.
I can only get banana is always. I don't know why it's like pops up as an example. The second part replaces the variable capital, i.e., covers the maintenance of the worker. The third part constitutes the surplus value, which under capitalism belongs to the capitalist. And what you'll realize is that there's no such thing as a surplus value, because what's happening is that they are cutting from the labor of the workers. So basically you are stealing from the worker, essentially.
Surplus value just means the difference between what it actually costs to make the thing and what they sell it for. It's that difference in between, right? But
that's actually not what the surplus value. There is no surplus value, because who they're stealing from is the person who makes it.
Yeah. Because so then it's not. So if you were back in the feudalism time and it was the person going to market with their stuff that they made out of their family or community, there was surplus value then. Yeah. Right? Because that got brought back to the community or the family.
The surplus value was the serfs, or stealing from the serfs. So you starved the serfs and the lords took it. Right? Okay.
No, I'm just at the meaning of surplus value, what that means.
Oh, that just means it means once you subtract the cost of making it and the wage of the worker, whatever that crap that capitalists call that
the markup that they get.
Whatever they think they can steal is the surplus value.
Yeah.
But
so that doesn't even go toward towards the workers. That's just a whole extra thing that they're stealing
from Jeff Bezos. That's Jeff Bezos is
yeah.
And
so the capitalist doesn't just steal from the worker; they're stealing from the people they sell to too, basically.
Not. Well, sure. Well, actually, now, because it only goes one way. They're usually just stealing, yes and no. In the individual sense, yes, but in the collective sense, no.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying, but I'm just saying, if you really think of it, if something costs this much to make, and to get to the store and do all this stuff in the store to make money, if there's extra on top of that.
There is
just the fat cat sitting there getting all the money. You know what I mean? He's actually stealing money too from the people, from the workers and the people. But
but
I know that's
read imperialism and you realize it's one way. The most money. Wait, I already sent you all the charts.
Yeah,
with the Africa, with Congo and Cobalt. So you'll see who they're stealing. But you'll see what I mean.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. But how is the third part, the surplus value, realized? It cannot surely be consumed in its entirety by capitalists. So our economists come to the conclusion that the way out of the difficulty of realizing the surplus value is acquisition of a foreign market. The writers mention and explain the need for a capitalist nation to have a foreign market by the suggestion that the capitalists cannot realize their products in any other way. The home market in Russia, they say, is shrinking because of the ruin of the peasantry and because of the impossibility of realizing surplus value without a foreign market. While the foreign market's close to a young country that enters the path of capitalist development too late. That is kind of true. So it is declared as proven that Russian capitalism has no basis, is stillborn, a claim found on a mere a priori, moreover, theoretically incorrect assumptions. He is right. What happens is that No. I mean, capitalism looks for more and more horrible as you go down and down the food chain. So back then, Russia was like very low down on the food chain.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So if you're looking at capitalism and you see America and France, you're only looking at the top of the food chain and you're not trickling all the way down.
So if you're looking at, if your concern is finding a foreign market, that is like, that's like a sign that you're looking for capitalism. Like you're,
well, you are very developed in capital. You're like already like you're a colonizer.
Yeah.
I mean, that is, but Russia back then was like it ties the world together. So it's like, yes, capitalism will come to Russia, but when it comes, it'll basically involve a lot of child slaves working in sweatshops. And that's what capitalism for most of the world is child slaves working in sweatshops.
Yeah, I mean, they just, as long as not in my backyard, as long as it's not happening here, then everyone's okay with it. Like
everyone in America is okay.
Well, that's what I mean. Everyone that's benefiting from it is
okay with it. Yeah. And that's why and that's why you can't really have like anti-communism in India, because they're like child slaves. What are you talking about? Like there's like, it's funny because the anti-communist propaganda doesn't like, and that's why you need the death. Like that's why in Indonesia they couldn't do the anti-communist propaganda, so they had to go and kill 1 million people and do the genocide instead, right? The Jakarta process method.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Get rid of the ones that disagree.
It was very bloody. I mean,
yeah.
And yeah, I on TikTok I put up some of like that, like of the John Pilger documentary, where what happens is like capital just like meets with Suharto, and then they set up the rules of like how they literally like decide on how they're gonna, I don't know, like exploit Indonesia. And yeah, and that's basically what they would have done with the Tsar if the Tsar hadn't been. But yeah, well, they did.
I think it was they did it in a way, but I think they did do it, but it was not.
Okay, they did do it in some way, but it was not like the Suharto 1968 Indonesia conference, where it's like this guy says they set the whole rules of the game in Indonesia to rig it to benefit that. It's like, it was awful.
Yeah, but with the Tsar, I mean, the Tsar was one of their own. So, I mean, like basically they're not going to do the same, you know, they're not going to treat him.
No. The Tsar is not Russian. I mean, the Tsar was like inbred, like he was
mostly German, right?
Or well, everything. I mean, you've seen the whole.
A little of everything.
Like you've seen the European inbreeding. They're all cousins of each other.
Yes.
Cousins / uncles, yes. Whatever. But what? No. Not about the Tsar. The Russian people, the Tsar was just a figurehead, and the Russian people were the thing to exploit, like they did exactly with Indonesia.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that they might have gone a little easier on Russia than they did in Indonesia because of the fact of the Tsar. I don't know.
I don't know. The Holocaust. No, they didn't. Oh no, that happened after the Soviets. Never mind.
Yeah. So I think maybe they held back a little bit. I don't know.
I don't think so, actually, to be honest. Because maybe they. It's not. It's a futile fight because it's like.
Yeah, I mean, whatever.
It's like really horrible conditions. Like whatever.
I mean, those are also allowed.
Well, the Tsar was
whether he was going to allow. Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
It's what he was going to allow too. So I mean,
yeah. Suharto was the same thing. So. Yeah, like when you compare China with Indonesia, that's where you'll realize how well socialism works.
Yeah.
You don't compare China with maybe soon we can compare it with the US, and then you have to be embarrassed if you're comparing it with the US, right? like, because China did not genocide. Oh, and then if you think Mao killed 100 billion people, no, he didn't. That's just a lie.
And then even 100 billion people right now. I mean,
I don't know how many, like, that's just like a straight up lie. So like they either have to like do a straight up lie for you and compare the wrong thing.
Yeah. They wouldn't have over 1 billion people if he killed 1 billion people.
Whatever crap, they make up a really high number from Mao. And it's
Of course
not,
they do.
it's like totally like, I don't know how they come up with, well, I don't know why they come, in fact, like they come up with a higher number for Mao than they do with Stalin, right?
I think so. Well, Stalin is Stalin 100 million, they say?
I don't know.
I think
Stalin's not 100 million. Stalin's like at like how many? Can you just Google how many people Stalin killed according to?
How people did Stalin kill?
What's the number?
Hold on, I have to like open something.
Oh, okay.
60 million. Well, they're saying 60 million here. The true figure may be as high as 60 million. Okay. 9 million in the 19, whatever.
Okay, okay. How many people did Mao kill? What's the number?
40. Well, Great Leap Forward led to 45 million at that point.
Oh, wow.
65, okay. 08, legacy estimated 65 million Chinese. So the 60 million on Stalin is a newer number. They're saying, no, it looks more.
Where did they make up that? Like, that sounds like a completely made up number, but.
They just pull it. Well, they had to get them up towards Mao Zedong. If Mao Zedong's at 65 billion, then.
Billion or million now?
Million. They're just at millions. They don't, okay. They haven't quite assigned them a billion. They
well,
would
today,
if they could.
Oh, today some dude blocked me. He's like, oh my God. His name was Conventional Wisdom. Wait, well, can you show that?
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
What's his name?
He was, it was on Escher, right? It was on your account.
No, you took the screenshot.
Oh, you just want the screenshot? Okay.
Yeah, because he blocked me. It's
yeah, but
funny.
I think I just, okay, so.
If his tweet is visible, you can show, fine, I forgot.
Well, I'll put up whatever I put up.
Okay. But this is funny because he said, dig the mass graves. And like, as though that was where is it? Wait, what did he say? Wait, you said,
well, I sent you what he said before.
After, okay, never mind. Okay, so we have to put up the tweet. Can you put up
let me put up the tweet. Hold on. What the fuck? Oh, I can get it right here. What am I doing? All right. So the tweet is this. His tweet was first. Dig mass graves. So you put up your 5. So
what is to be done?
You put up your 5 steps, and you're pretty right. A little joking around, but you're right in them. Uh-huh. And then this guy says dig mass graves is number 6. Mm-hmm. And then you said put Nazis where they belong.
As number 7.
And then he blocked you.
Yeah. That was like, so you can't handle somebody who has more cerebral wisdom?
The way that they do all this stuff, like there was a troll earlier trolling about something, but then like I looked on their timeline because they're like, oh, this person, he must be like paid by the Dems or something like that, whatever they were saying in the DM. And then I go and look, and like 3 tweets down, it was like, why is AOC standing next to this communist at this rally? So like, okay, I'm like, yeah, he probably is paid by the DNC if he's going against communists. Huh?
Who's the legit communist who's sitting next to?
Oh, let's see. Let me get this up. So they're saying, why is the
Who? I
AOC
don't see
standing
it.
next to Sarah Taylor?
Who's
Is the
that?
founder of Rise Up for Abortion, and she's also a Revolutionary Communist Party member.
That's who? Where? Okay. I feel is that Bob? That's Bob Avakian's organization, right?
It's something to do with the Greens, right?
No. The Revolutionary I believe it's Bob Avakian's organization. If it's Bob Avakian's organization, it's really like an NED front.
Yeah. What's RCP?
I thought that was Bob Avakian's organization. Google Bob Avakian. Avakian. No, Kian.
Yeah, the Revolutionary Communist Party.
Mm-hmm.
So then she's not
That's
really
a CIA
communist.
front, basically.
Okay. So this guy is complaining about. Okay.
Or an FBI front. I forgot. That guy, Robert Squarley, he talked about it's an FBI front or fake organization.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So it is Bob Avakian's organization, right?
Yeah, it is.
Why does it still exist now that everyone knows?
I don't know.
I thought wouldn't they want to rebrand?
No, not if they're. I think that I find that these organizations like Bellingcat and all that, when they're found out, they don't care because they're just doing their job and they just keep doing it.
Okay.
They don't care because that's not stopping them, and it's always putting doubt in people's brains. So what do they care? The American public is so fucking stupid that they're not going to look into that. Like I saw that tweet really fast and I didn't really look up the girl, but I just remembered seeing the tweet that I'm like, okay, yeah, this guy has got to be, but now he's sharing something on this person who's actually probably working through the CIA or FBI or one of the alphabets. and then like it's just like it's a game to them. I think they keep
how much they get away with.
Do I really want to see how much they get away with?
No. Is that why they don't?
They definitely want to see. They want to. It's the doubt. That's all it is. It's the doubt. That's why they do like. We know that they. We know that they infiltrate us. They like. You can know like, okay, this is what communism is, right? And then you always get these people, and then so that the people that need to have people to point to and say, see, communism's this. No, but that person is working for you. And I think they just keep it there because it's a good thing. It's a horrible thing, but it's a thing for them to just say, oh yeah, you don't know what you're talking about.
But it took a quick Google search for you to figure out it was Bob Avakian's organization.
Yeah. But no one's going to do that. Who does that?
Me.
You do. I sometimes do. I'm getting in more and more in the habit of it. If I see, like, I don't look up at everything. Like I just said, I recalled that tweet, but I just
read it. I recalled that organization. I'm like, oh, that's Bob Avakian.
And that's what you got to do. You have to like question everything. You really have to question everything. Like you can't. You have to. And that's the point of the show.
It's weird though. But why wouldn't they rebrand so that like people like me don't have to like they don't get caught Googling?
I think they just don't care because then all they have to do is say that Esha, she's freaking nuts. Like she doesn't know what she's talking about.
She thinks everyone's the CIA.
Yeah, she says it about everybody, like, so you can't trust her. Like, I mean, that's exactly the game they're playing. Like that's.
But then this is things that the CIA has admitted to doing.
Yeah.
If you go to CIA.gov, they're gonna not deny this. You'll find papers or FBI, I forgot which one. Yeah. Whether he's related to like, I forgot, but he had this like really weird thing and anti-China, it was just weird.
They just do this. They figure after time, it like people just forget. Like, oh, you forgot, so now I'm back again. Like, it's just like, I mean, you get people do that. Like they try to like come back in on like even like Twitter. Like they'll try to come back in, and you're like, yeah, you were the fucking asshole that that was like harassing women. Like I'm not gonna talk to you.
Oh yeah. Okay. So let's.
We just have the last big long paragraph.
I forgot where we were.
You're right at the when expressing.
When expressing his views on realization, Mr. Enon evidently had in mind Marxist theory on the subject, although he has not said a single word about Marx in this part of his sketches. Oh, by the way, somebody ran a word analysis on Lenin, and the number one person Lenin mentions is Marx, and number two right after that is Kautsky.
Of course.
But
I thought it'd be Chomsky.
Me too.
Yeah, what is it, off by like 2?
Yeah. Some lady ran an analysis on that. We can put up the graph. Yeah, she downloaded all of Lenin's works, and
that's too funny.
And she like did a word count on each word.
Yeah, they do that stuff to do like Lenin bot, like to like just do quotes of his and stuff like that. Like a lot of them do that with they'll download everything so that they can do a quote, that just
but she
automatically
did a statistical analysis on what
no, that's kind of funny.
Yeah, Kautsky's number 2. Both I really thought it was Kautsky was, but I see he just marks. Okay. But he absolutely failed to understand it and distorted it beyond recognition, as we shall see in a moment. This explains the curious fact that his views coincide in all essentials with those of Mr. Vivi, who cannot be possibly accused of not understanding theory, for it would be the height of injustice to suspect him of even the slightest acquaintance with it. That was a good twist.
Yes.
You can't.
I like that. I'm thinking of tweets I could use that in against people.
Yeah. That he explained who cannot possibly be accused of not understanding theory, for it would be the height of injustice to suspect them of even the slightest acquaintance with it. Yeah, that's such a good insult too. Like solid, can't get you banned.
Yeah,
very mean, goes to the jugular. Like I don't know how he does this.
I was told I was a schoolyard bully last night.
What?
I was pretty much saying kind of the same thing to someone last night, and I was told I was a schoolyard bully for saying it.
Yeah, Lenin was not a schoolyard bully.
No. But I did kind of call the guy dumb and stuff like that a little bit.
What you'll see is that when Lenin gets to think like things he likes, like dogs, kids, workers, he's like so different. Like he's like when he's like talking to the Children's Youth High School Association, he like, even when they make say the completely wrong argument, like he twists their argument to like say, this argument is right in these situations. And that's very good for like a 14-year-old kind of thing.
I give people as much respect as they give me. That's all I have to say.
No, Lenin's not really nice to like children and dogs, cats. He's just really mean to Kautsky. And I guess Mr. Vivi.
And talking about that, did he ever abbreviate Kautsky, not using Kautsky? Because maybe he did mention Kautsky more. No. If he called him like KK or something.
No. Kautsky was always legal. Because they had to abbreviate here because or use fake names because they were not legal. But Kautsky was the German Socialist Party was always legal. So no one in Germany.
Oh, so he's talking about people in illegal party. Like you were talking about how there was legal communist parties. And
there was no legal communist party. There was legal parties that the Tsar allowed, yes.
Okay. And then there was illegal parties.
Yeah.
Okay. And they were the Narodniks were an
Very
illegal
illegal
party.
for
Okay.
Assassinating the Grand.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
Both authors expound their theories as though they are the first to have dealt with the subject and have reached certain solutions all by themselves. Oh my God, this sounds exactly like Paul Krugman. Both of them sublimely ignore the arguments of old economists. Oh my God, exactly. Oh, like literally the entire journal, The Economist, old economists on the subject. And both repeat old errors that have been most thoroughly refuted in Volume 2 of Capital. And these errors have now been also refuted by Lenin, Stalin, Mao, Ho Chi Minh, like even Maduro. And we still feed it today, which is annoying, right?
Yes.
Both authors reduce the whole problem of realization of the product, the realization of surplus value, evidently imagining that the realization of constant capital presents no difficulties. This naive opinion contains the most profound errors. One that is the source of all the further errors in the Narodnik theory of realization. As a matter of fact, the difficulty of explaining realization is precisely one of explaining the realization of constant capital. In order to be realized, constant capital must be put back into production, and that is directly practicable only in the case of that capital whose product consists of the means of production. If, however, the product makes good the constant part of capital consists articles of consumption, it cannot be but packed into production. What is required is the exchange between the department of social production that makes the means of production and that which makes the articles of consumption. It is this point that constitutes the whole difficulty of the problem, a difficulty unnoticed by our economists. Mr. Beebe presents the matter, generally speaking, as if the aim of capitalist production is not accumulation, but consumption. A lot of every Harvard economist idiot does this too. Like, obviously, it's to make Jeff Bezos, accumulation, Jeff Bezos, kind of Bill Gates, yeah. Advancing the most profound argument that into the hands of a minority flows a mass of material objects in excess of the consuming power of the organism. Sick. That means he left some error in it.
Yeah.
I don't know what's the error, but at the given stage of development, and that it is not the moderation and the abstentiousness of the manufacturers which cause the superfluity of the products, but limits and insufficient elasticity of the human organism. 2 exclamation points, which means, oh my God, this is stupid. Which, of course, which fails to realize its consuming power at the rate in which surplus value grows. That's the entire point of capitalism. Mr. Annan tries to present the matter as though he does not regard consumption as the aim of capitalist production, as though he takes account of the role and significance of the means of production in regard to the problem as realization. As a matter of fact, however, he has no clear idea whatsoever about the process of circulation and reproduction of the aggregate social capital, and he has become entangled in a host of contradictions. We shall not stop to examine all these contradictions. That would be a thankless task.
That sounds like you going through Eric Blanc's book.
Yeah.
You're like, it's every line. I'd have to
Yes, it is.
Every paragraph had at least one thing wrong in it.
I know. I can't. I'm like overwhelmed. And Matt is helping me with and he's like, and we've gotten we've already found way too many errors in chapter 1.
Sorry.
But actually he does also like Lenin then makes fun of Mr. Bulgakov. And furthermore, to prove the justice of the appraisal given here of Mr. Annan's arguments, it will suffice to examine his final conclusion. namely that the foreign market is the way out of difficulty of realizing the surplus value. So that's kind of like saying that Ethiopia needs to come and like invade the US, and like that's just not right. Like that's just they just
Not
don't
with
have
not with our military.
well, that's just not going to happen in the
Real world.
no, in the near future. One day, maybe, like Russia can, okay, today Russia can, if Russia and the US go on a head-to-head war, Russia's winning.
I know, definitely.
No, hands down. But back then, it was like a mess. So so seeking a foreign market, you'd have like, but basically you have to like kick out one of the other people, and this kind of like basically Germany's entrance into the foreign market is what caused World War I.
Yeah.
The conclusion of Mr. Enon's, essentially a mere repetition drawn on Mr. V's, shows that in the most striking fashion, he did not in any way understand either the realization of the product, the theory of the home market, or the role of the foreign market. Indeed, is there ever a grain of common sense in dragging of the foreign market into the problem of realization? The problem of realization is how to find for each part of capitalist production in terms of value and in its material form, means of production, blah, 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 and the other product which replaces it on the market. Clearly, foreign trade must be excluded, for dragging it in does not advance a solution of the problem one iota. It merely retracts it by extending the problem from one country to several. Exactly. The very same Mr. Enon who discovers in foreign trade a way out of, I mean, like he's right. Like foreign trade does not suddenly make everyone equal. It just makes everything more unequal, right?
Yes.
Like when you see the problem of capitalism within the US, if you just like trade with, I don't know, a country, what you see is that they're using child slaves over there. So that's what Lenin's trying to say, is that things are.
And in a weird way, it also hurt the US doing it. Like if you think it, not in the way that it hurts the other countries, but really. They've gotten some blowback. Well, I mean, through COVID, we saw like
very minor.
Not having things manufactured here and stuff like that with the trade and stuff. That
very little, but I mean, you could not get like in a middle class lifestyle in the imperialized countries does not like allow you to send your kids to school. I'm sorry, but sorry, it's just, no. I mean, like
no, I'm not saying that. I mean,
the whole way the U.S. got the middle class lifestyle is through exploitation.
Yeah.
So to say it hurt the U.S. is, come on.
No, I mean, what I'm saying, well, we're in the collapse of the middle class, and what they did with doing NAFTA and stuff like that, like we didn't have the products that we needed for COVID. We didn't have the masks for the hospital.
Care.
I know they don't care, but they're hurt. Like, not only are they now at this point, it's like they're even hurting their own. Before they didn't. No. Well, who is there? I mean, yeah, yes and no. I mean,
like basically they were really, I mean, I think the only reason they stopped the productions is that they didn't want you to be able to, like, I don't know, produce like a factory full of gun. I guess you can. That's the only thing. Actually, that's the only thing that stayed in the U.S.
Yes, was the gun manufacturing.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you look at the past 100 years, there's no way it hurt. It just is hard for me to. Like, you're comparing U.S. in the 70s to U.S. now, but U.S. in the 70s was because U.S. was like all of Africa and all of Asia blind.
Yeah. No. I mean, what I'm saying is they've hurt the rest of the world in significant amounts, but at this point in time,
Because
right now,
China
they're
is
starting
stopping
to
the
hurt.
exploitation but stopping the exploitation isn't. It's kind of like a cool act. Complaining, I can't have slaves, in my opinion. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm just saying that they did do this blowback on. Now we are losing the middle class, and now people are going to see the collapsing of it here more and more.
Maybe now is the time for the monsters, is what I'm going to say.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe people won't see it because
I don't know. I think more people are seeing it right now. I don't think they see it in the right ways all the time, but they are definitely seeing it.
I'm saying they might. Yeah. Okay. Hopefully, we'll see.
Yeah, we will.
I
don't
have
know.
very little faith for it.
I do too.
Okay. I forgot. Oh yeah, as follows. A part of the annual product with direct producers, the workers who receive the shape of wages, only that part of the means of subsistence can be drawn from circulation, which is equal in value to the sum of total wages. How, the question arises, does our economist know that a capitalist of a given country will produce means of subsistence in the quantity and of just quality requisite for the realization by wages? He will not. How does he know that in connection with the foreign market it can be dispensed? Obviously, he cannot know this. He simply brushed aside the problem of the foreign market, for in discussing the realization of real capital, two things. The important thing is the replacement of one part of the product by another. It is not whether this replacement takes place in one country or in 2 or 100. With respect to surplus value, however, he departs from this necessary premise. Instead of simply solving the problem, he evades it by talking of the foreign market. The sale of the product in a foreign market itself needs explanation, i.e. finding an equivalent for the part of the product which is being sold. Finding another part of the capitalist product that can replace the first. That is why Marx says that in examining the problem of a realization, the foreign market, foreign trade must be entirely discarded, for the involvement in foreign commerce in analyzing the annually reproduced value of products can only confuse without contributing any new element to the problem or its solution. Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, Lenin gets to this in Imperialism. You'll see what happens with the foreign. Messrs. Vivi and Enanon imagined they were giving a profound appraisal of the contradictions of capitalism by pointing to the difficulties of realizing the surplus value. No, that's why you just like move it to cheaper workers. However, they were giving an extremely superficial appraisal of the contradictions of capitalism. For if one speaks of difficulties of realization of the crises arising therefrom, one must admit that these difficulties are not only possible, but are necessary as regards all parts of the capitalist product and not as regards the surplus value alone. Yep. Difficulties of this kind is due to the disproportion in the distribution of various branches of production, constantly arise not only in realizing surplus value, but also in realizing variable and constant capital, in realizing not only the products consisting of the articles of consumption, but also consisting of means of production. Without this difficulty and crisis, there cannot in general be any capitalist production. So you have to go into crises every 4 years, 8 years, 10 years, whatever. Production by isolated producers for a world market are known to them. Yeah.
I was thinking of the.
Oh my God, I forgot one. This is a good footnote. Particularly astonishing in this connection is Mr. Vivi's audacity, which transcends all bounds of literary decency. After enunciating his theory and betraying his unfamiliarity with Volume 2 of Capital, which deals especially with realization, he goes on to make the quite unfounded statement that in building my propositions, I used Marx's theory of production and distribution. That's funny.
Yeah.
But so nowadays, everyone's audacity transcends all bounds of decency. So there's nothing to be
I was thinking of the fruit. What is it? The fruit cup?
Banana?
No, not with bananas, but that fruit cup thing where they show like, okay, the oranges were picked in Florida, but then they were shipped here for packaging, and they were shipped here for, it like goes
Fruit
around
cup.
and then it comes back up to the United States. Like it goes out to Asia, then it comes down to South America, and then it goes back up to the United States. And it's like,
Fruit cups. I don't understand.
you don't understand that it's like
literally.
one, like,
literally, it is fruits in a cup. I get it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, a little fruit cup.
Like, is this it?
Yes, a fruit cup. Yes.
Like oranges, like God has made a cup
Yes.
for the fruit.
Yes. And so now we take that orange that was in Florida and then we send it off to get packaged. We send it off to get like manufactured, like peeled or something. Then it gets sent off to package somewhere
But
else.
like God made the fruit cup for the orange.
I know.
You just need a fork.
You
And you can eat it, like literally.
just need your fingers to.
Or a fork. Or something. God made a fruit
Bite
cup.
out of it.
Watermelon also has a fruit cup in it.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about like grapefruit, like its own little cup. Nature's little cup.
Yeah.
Well, it's like how they make the eggs now. Like you go into a grocery store and they're already like hard boiled and peeled for you when they're in a little packaging. It's like,
Yuck.
okay.
How do they cup it to stop it from turning black?
Probably put shit in it that we don't really need in our bodies. Why don't you talk a little bit like what is going to come up in the chapters?
Oh yeah. So he will go make fun of Adam Smith, which is my favorite part. And you'll realize why Adam Smith's really stupid. And like seriously, like people and it's embarrassing that like people seriously in economics departments of Harvard read him. It's, oh my God, AOC and Adam Smith. Oh my God. Okay. Oh my God. Let me show you this. This is so embarrassing.
Small here. Okay. So AOC believes in Mahatma Gandhi method.
Non-violence on your part, not non-violence on the state's part.
Yeah, they can shoot you in the head while you're being non-violent. Adam Smith's analyses and Pablo Neruda's love.
What's that?
And Pablo Neruda's love. Her experiences growing up in Puerto Rican household from the boroughs to beyond has afforded her a uniquely American experience with all the tragedy and hilarity it accompanies. Tragedy and hilarity of the whatever. A sophomore double majoring in international relations.
Yeah, you know what I say about international relations, right? It's like a factory that you go in and then you come out and you turn into Henry Kissinger.
Exactly. That's what they teach you there. So yeah.
Did you international relations? Okay. I mean, back then we didn't really care to check this all out because she was just, I don't know, Joe Crowley, like he sucked, right?
Yeah, it was. I mean, I think with a lot of this stuff, it's like you can look at. You can say, okay, that person is infinitely better than the other. Yeah, I get the lesser evil.
Well, she's not.
And AOC, there wasn't. Yeah, I mean, but it
she knew how to talk like, socialist. Yeah. She's kind of like the Obama for the younger people in that she can talk socialist without knowing what she's saying. Yeah, like when she's like, we should organize and together. Like, it's really a word salad. If you you remember that word salad she did last year?
Yeah, she does a lot of them, but yeah.
But there was this one where it was like completely meaningless, like organize.
Well, it's when they go roundabout too. They're like, we need to organize the people to organize the people.
Yeah, that was exactly what she did.
And then the people are organized then.
I was so confused. It was like a word salad. What was it? About the organization. What was she giving? Like it was an excuse for something, but I forgot what the excuse was.
Was it when they were trying to? Was it the push for like a Medicare for all push?
I don't know.
because there was a lot of silliness around that when like they were saying, oh, just get in there and push the vote, and then
force the vote. That was Bree. I think Bree came up with the strategy, and that was the right strat, or was it Jimmy Dore? I don't remember.
It was. I mean, I don't even think it was them. I think it was just somebody else, and they put it on their platform.
Okay, I just remember the football player.
Yeah,
Justin.
Yeah,
Justin.
Sorry, why am I not thinking
it's
his
blanking.
name?
His name's blanking on me.
Oh my God, Justin.
She answered the football player. No, and then she blamed Jimmy Dore on the question the football player asked.
Yeah,
right?
No, I remember. Yeah, Justin Jackson. Right? Jackson. Yeah,
Justin. Okay, but I don't like. I just remember like she just like. And then Aaron Mate was like, no, because in theory, Biden's already in support of the $15 minimum wage.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing. It's like, we didn't think that forcing the vote would actually
do anything. It just
have it.
It's kind of like what Lenin wanted. Well, Lenin, we had, I think we read this piece last year where Lenin explains like, well, it's like, where they make up fake Duma procedures to like, and it's like to show the people that this is a fake Duma.
Yeah.
Like, and so Lenin suggests like something like this, where you're just like making up, where he wants to like whoever was the leftist elected deputies, like the Mensheviks or the Trudeau. No. He was talking to, no. He was telling the cadets. I forgot who it was. Not that it mattered.
Yeah.
He was like telling them, okay, in order to do this, just like make up like just make up a law, like redistributing the land right now. And then what will happen is that the czar is going to come and dissolve the Duma or cancel it or something to show that this cannot happen under this Duma is what the point was.
But that's my thing too, is like someone say like an AOC who's supposed to be progressive should be writing these things up constantly just to have them
sticking and have them
be like,
table it.
This, okay, I wrote this, and then it shows. Yeah, that shows
that without the Speaker of the House, there is not a single bill that can be passed without her consent.
Yeah, and
that's so not a democracy.
Just to expose stuff, though, and she's not willing to do that. She's playing ball with them, and that's the whole thing. That's what was exposed, is that we don't really actually have.
Yeah, literally
anybody.
The Speaker of the like. I remember this thing where what's his face? This was during the Gulf War. I don't remember it as young as the young person, but I remember it as a Google, like a Googler. I don't know how to explain it.
My Google days.
Yeah, as like an excessive Googler.
A researcher. You're a researcher. I Google, so I'm a researcher.
Not an excessive Googler. Okay. But what I remember is that when Obama wanted to pass something, John Boehner, he just wouldn't even bring it to the House for it to pass. Yeah. Like he didn't bring it to vote.
Yeah.
But for some odd reason, Dick Gephardt was in charge to vote for the Gulf War. And the Democrats had a majority. Not only did he bring it to vote, but somehow enough Democrats voted for the Gulf War that it passed.
Yeah.
And you're like, how does this happen?
Yeah.
If he was really against the Gulf War, he should have just tabled this and say, no, war, we're not voting on this.
Exactly.
And
everything that's brought up is pointedly what they want at that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the Speaker can table any bill. They can table it. The Speaker does not have to explicitly table it. They can table it in committee before, quote unquote, the Speaker, it gets to the Speaker.
They'll table something like Medicare for all, but they will never table something on war. So
yeah, let's send more Nazis, more weapons in Ukraine. Oh my God. Actually, I do have one thing to share. So this is the word on this. This is clearly not Ukraine, coming from Ukraine, but I feel like karma is a biat. The Ukrainian fascists, can you share this? This is creepy.
Yeah.
Have been told to kill all the mercenaries before they fall into Russian hands. Where it is? That's an interesting order.
Ukrainian forces killing mercenaries in
Lysychansk. That's where the secret prison.
Oh, okay.
Torture. We can show a link to that documentary.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Okay. That's why. Where was Tornadoes?
One of them was in Lysychansk.
Okay. All right. So that was Tornado. Okay.
And this is Severodonetsk, is not northern Donetsk. I think Idar is there.
Okay. Okay.
Or
militia LPR reported that the instructors have information about the activities of foreign intelligence services in the Donbass, which cannot be disclosed in case of being captured.
The instructors, as in people who are instructing the Ukrainian military.
Ukrainian groups of forces that remain in Lysychansk in Severodonetsk have been killing foreign mercenaries. A source close to Lugansk People's Republic militia told TASS on Sunday. What is TASS?
TASS is like Russia's like AP.
Okay, all right.
It's a state-owned. It's like Associated Press. Like
okay. Ukrainian militants have been ordered to kill foreign instructors in Lysychansk and Severodonetsk as the latter have certain information about the activity of foreign special services in Donbass. So they do not get captured and disclose.
So they have very little faith in the CIA being not like it's not even tortured. It's like being stared down by the. I bet you it's like, and then they're just gonna like. So
they don't try like, and that's the whole thing. And like
they don't trust each other. So who's this order coming from? Because like to me. It looks like Kiev would want, why would Kiev care? It seems like the US would care more.
You're right. I mean, if you think of it, like, because maybe they're not CIA necessarily. They could just be assets. They could be, and so they're willing to get rid of them.
4 US marks captured yesterday alive.
And wasn't there a couple of CIA stars that just went up in the last month or so? So
2 in Azovstal. So I wonder, another interesting thing is that this could be just the LNR, like a PSYOP, not a PSYOP, but like the LNR could be just lying to TASS so that it makes the Ukrainian if the Russian military is closing in, and then they get this news that your Ukrainian people that you've been training want to kill you, it might cause chaos and like a shootout between them, or like a mess.
Like they're trying, like it's kind of like use what they've been doing against them, like so putting these fake story out or something.
I don't know, but they could. This could also be true.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we know that there's 2 dead.
Yeah.
At least
2 dead, and
they don't put up assets as stars. They only put up
agents as stars. So there are 2 agents. There were 2 agents inside, and like the way they tortured when they described the torture. Well, I've done enough subtitles about torture. Well, that it seems like they've been learning from a manual. Is all I'm saying. But they've been, also like right after Maidan, like the head of who was Obama's CIA? John Brennan?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, he was in Kiev for some odd reason, like after Maidan. I'm sure he had nothing to do with the coup, but
not at all.
Nothing.
Nothing.
But and the thing that is really crazy is all the weapons they're sending, like in a desperate. So it looks like somebody really underestimated how good the Ukrainian military really was. Well, whatever they called it, right?
Yeah.
Because they are sending more, like they're sending more and more weapons over, which is irrational at this point. Even like it sounds like last minute panic, right?
Yeah, and like, well, like they don't even know how to use them. Like,
oh yeah, yes.
They don't even know how to use the weapons. They're sending these things. Like I felt like there was just like a lot of promises made before Russia even went in there. Like, because it just seems like just the way that Zelensky's like almost seems like he's begging, but like to a point that he's saying like you like he's basically saying you promised, or like,
well, you know, like they, well, I mean, as one of the the head of the IDAR battalions, like we can tell you, like they told Zelensky, yeah, we don't need you, we can tell you if you want. So it's a little bit of a who's the boss situation.
Yeah.
So who promised whom? And that's what I don't understand.
I just think like NATO and US made promises to Ukraine, like we will help you. And I think
they did not expect Russia to come in.
Yeah, like I think all along where we were saying, oh, Russia's not going to do it because you've been saying this for so long, Russia's not going to do it.
Well,
and then all of a sudden Russia did it. You know what I mean? Like
I mean, I'm not like, I was very skeptical of hearing the State Department itself because I've heard I'm like, okay. And
yeah, they've been saying it for 8 years. I mean, yeah. So, I mean, I think that might be it, that they, like, even the United States didn't truly expect them to go in.
But what happened was that they got caught. Okay, so the first step was that they tried to mediate a peaceful solution with the Minsk Accords, and then the first Minsk Accords failed. So then they got France and Germany to come in and kind of drill it into Poroshenko's head that he needs to move his Nazis over, and then the DNR and the LNR will stop the war. But he kept on getting bad advice from Obama people to not move his Nazis over. And then after that, like they finally got to the US and they're like, okay, look. And then for a while, the US is like, what weapons? We're not sending them weapons. What weapons? Like they did that.
I'm thinking of the meme that they have, or the cartoon they have of the bears, the Russian bears coming out of the cave, protecting the cubs, but you only see the Russian bear and you see Zelensky with a stick, but then you pan out and it's like all these guys from NATO, United States, UK, whatever, like pushing him in, like go on, like, and all he has is a stick, and it's actually the bear like protecting its cubs.
Yeah,
and so like it's literally like they pushed. They built up Zelensky's confidence.
Well, okay.
Something, I don't know.
No. Well, the first thing is that Zelensky. So I don't know if they built up Zelensky's confidence or if they were lying to themselves.
Do you think that they thought Ukraine could beat Russia? I don't know. I don't know.
I'm so convinced. Okay, so none of this. Okay. So in order for Biden needs Donbass to be under Ukrainian control to frack that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So because if you live in Donbass, you're not going to allow them to poison everything you're like for thousands of years, you've been living this and you're like, no, you're not poisoning our river water and letting it set on fire, whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
So then that's where the Civil War started. So I guess then now they were, they wanted, it just doesn't make sense. Like why they didn't give up on that. Like you're not beating the Cossacks. You're just not beating these people. Like
I don't.
None of this makes sense. Like, and then,
well, none of it makes sense unless what we're saying is like the United States and NATO were, like they were behind saying, okay, like you'll be okay, like just keep,
They knew okay, but then like you're going to ignite a world war?
I don't know.
NATO,
I don't know. It's just,
it's like, so what is it they want now? I mean,
like the end game of this.
Like, okay, so they obviously want to destroy Russia and China.
Yeah.
But not even the end game. Like, what is the current game? There's why didn't they just like cut their losses short and sacrifice Ukraine? Is what I'm wondering.
I don't know. I think at some point they probably will, but United States never does anything when it should. But I mean, I think they still have hope that they can use this as
what?
Just propaganda against Russia, and just keep that.
Really, like it's barely working in the U.S. and the rest of the world's not buying it.
Yeah, but the United States they're in such a bubble, they don't frigging get that. Do you know what I'm saying? Like they honestly think that, they honestly believe sometimes what they say, like the whole world was behind us and it's 5 countries. Like, you know what I mean? Like they honestly, they
were really surprised with India.
They propagandize the people, but in the process of doing that, I really think that they do it to themselves too. Like it's like having that bravado of being like, and then you believe that you are that, you know what I mean? Like, someone that's all tough guy and they believe that they're a tough guy.
They got caught red-handed, like while they were, and then at that point they were like, okay, we need to, the US will never stop this. We need to Lavrov just came up with this plan, and his plan is very solid in my opinion. And it's funny because they think that Putin wanted to do this, and no, he was dragged kicking and screaming. Like Putin has never vetoed anything that the Duma has done, and the Duma like dragged him by like recognizing these 2 republics, and then suddenly he has to go to the war.
But this is another thing too that's really weird to me. Like I see other countries, like I see China, and they say stuff against Blinken. They say stuff about other, like they won't just say Biden, right? But everything, like they don't put down any other person. It was always Putin did this. Putin, like they have to make Putin like he's a dictator.
Well, okay, you can't make Lavrov to like. What are you going to say about Lavrov?
Yeah, but I mean that's the whole thing. You don't want your people to know about Lavrov because you don't want people listening to him because he's actually talking pretty.
Very sensibly.
As a war goes, he's talking pretty rationally, but
he has a very soft voice and he's very rational. I mean, and there's no dirt on him, literally. Like, or what kind of propaganda can you do?
Yeah.
There's nothing.
But it's still like
he was young. He used to write poetry.
It makes me believe like they are just talking out of their ass because they don't even like point the finger to the right thing. You know what I mean? Like if this is Lavrov's plan, but they're sitting there going, like they have to make Putin be like this dictator and that he's doing everything. That he made all these decisions all on his own, and he's forcing everybody in Russia to go along with these decisions. Like that's what they are trying to do, and it doesn't like
it doesn't make it add up. Like you can't force. And I know Putin was dragged kicking and screaming. I mean, just because I know the Duma that day, Duma recognized, he did 2 different speeches where he was like, went on, and he had to be like, this is why I'm doing this, blah, blah. Like, I knew, like, when you listen to somebody's speech about their like reasons, when they want to do something and then when they don't want to do something, right? But because it's Lavrov's plan, it seems like it's very well thought out.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know what's going on, but anyhow.
Anyways, like I said, I've been like, I kind of understand the inner dynamics of like who owns which coal which whatever fracking company.
Yeah.
And I kind of understand which battalions are protecting which corporations and whatnot.
Yeah.
But what the US doesn't realize, I guess it's so weird. Russia did the exact same thing in Syria, where they went town by town and took a long time. And it seems like the US doesn't realize that's what they're doing. They're going town by town.
Because the US doesn't care about collateral life. Like they don't care about they actually don't care about the kids or the elderly because they don't care that they went into Iraq and killed 1 million people. They don't care. They don't care.
So they think Russia's.
So they would have to, like, Russia would have to be the same as them, because if Russia doesn't think the same, what's wrong with Russia? Like, why wouldn't they just care that these are just ants that they're crushing? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's clear when you look at the plan. It's something like you make this like a little circle.
Yeah.
And then you use the Dnieper River as like a barrier and push in the Ukrainian troops this way and push them out that way is the plan. Well, from what I can tell, I'm no military.
Yeah, no, I mean, like they were doing the maps too, and they would use that, like, okay, it's pushing down and out this way. Like when they were doing the war maps, some of them actually do that. Like, okay, it shows the arrows of where, how Russia's pushing them. And like we talked about, like getting the whole shoreline, like to go all down below.
They got that. Yesterday, Ukraine lost all access to the Azov Sea.
Yeah.
I showed you the map yesterday.
Yep. So they have, what is it? Once they get Odessa, they just
Ukraine. No, they need Transnistria still.
Oh, okay. All right. So yeah. So, I mean, they actually are, they're actually using like what war plans would have been like before we had all the war machines. Like they're using these, like just this military thing of like coming in and just smooshing them out. And that's how, but for America, in the way that we did it, we don't even care.
No, it's like Saddam Hussein. He just went like, I mean, then you get Brian, what's his name, who sees the beauty of the bombs and I prefer like the Qadi. And I swear to God, I love the Chechnyans though. They're so adorable. I love their propagandist who's very good looking, and he's actually the most popular Telegram channel now.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
He has really nice teeth.
Yeah, he has really nice teeth.
I'm jealous of his teeth.
Well, no, but then like, it's funny. Like, unfortunately, the West is not flipping out as much as they want the West to flip out. Like, that's the entire purpose of sending very Muslim-y looking people to Ukraine.
Oh, yeah.
But the West is not flipping out on them enough.
I don't know, because they're going like they're fine. Oh, like using the word orcs, like they're fine. Like the Westerners have been fine with that, but it's like, okay, you understand that they're saying that about Muslim, like they're purposely saying this as a dehumanizing thing. Like they're it's not like some just joke that we're like
from
fighting
the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, it's not that. They're using it in a dehumanizing.
It's really. They can't say Muscovite because that sounds like an anti-Semitic slur nowadays. I mean, it is, but so that Muscovite was it. Everyone knew that was an anti-Semitic slur. Dog whistle.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess. Well, we'll see, and hopefully, I will get the article done this week. I cannot. I cannot handle more people without limbs.
All right, so let's.
Svobodu Narodu. Did you record any of this?
I'm recording.
You sure?
I recorded everything. Did you think I didn't record? No, I didn't stop the recording.
I thought you would. I didn't see the record. Okay. Svobodu Narodu Smrti Fascismu.
Hi, everyone.